Brian Dakin. Brian, are you beginning or John?
I'll say a quick hi, and then Dawn's going to run with some slides here that we'll get on the screen. But we're going to run through a similar update as we did last month and go into a little more detail about the permitting process and construction logistics. But we'll get the screen up in 1 second.
Dan, for some reason it's not allowing me to start video. It's a setting that you have to, on my name, when we've got public schools.
Share screen.
I don't know what you're saying to me.
You know how I need video to be able to start on over here. You have to allow me to show video, Brian, within Zoom.
Okay.
Oh, like you have to allow other people to share.
So I have to do commercials or something?
Yeah, like you can under. I think that allows other people to be able to share.
Do you want to try that?
Still says host will not allow me to run video.
Oh, maybe that's not it.
I think, Brian, if you...
I can go live on YouTube. Do you want me just to do that?
Yeah, you can do that too.
It should be good to go. So you just want me to share? You're not going to
Yep.
do it all? Okay. Okay, John, so I have the agenda up. I don't know what you can say.
Can't see any of it,
Paul,
but
you getting the video in there?
Yep, I finally got it.
Okay.
amazing.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just a reminder, I'm Dawn Guariello. I am one of the architects. I work for Perkins Eastman, and I'm glad you're all joining again with us this evening. We are going to walk through the site plan to start the presentation. I just want to remind everyone, the new Revere High School project will be built on the former Wonderland site. Just to give some context, we're building approximately over where the old dog track used to be. It's kind of the western wing of the new building. The classroom bar is that gentle wave that you see on the south side, starts kind of closest to the rotary and then travels to the left of the screen. The main entrance is between, Dr. Kelly is Vanna Whiting for me, thank you. That's the main entrance onto the site, directly across from the Wonderland T-stop. Cars will travel north, they'll split the fields and then circle around and drop at the main building entry, which is approximately in the location that the arrow is showing, and then come around and exit. The buses take the same entryway as the cars across from Wonderland, and they take a left-hand turn and take a separate approach to the building on the south side, parallel to the roadway, and drop students into the heart of the school from the south side, in sort of the middle of the academic wing. The idea is that for car safety and student safety, that we separate cars and buses from a drop-off and pickup standpoint. Circulation can also occur around the building. Just a reminder that this building is elevated approximately 14 feet. There's under-building parking, and that is because this is in a floodplain. We're so close to the coastal line that we need to elevate our building in the event of a major water storm. And that allows us to get under building parking. Our first floor is elevated. That academic wing on the south side is 4 stories tall. The heart of the school, which is kind of that central piece, is 3 stories. We've got a music and performing arts wing that is 2 stories tall. The theater starts on the 2nd floor, and the gymnasium is that largest rectangle on the northwest side of the building. So just for context, we have 2 fields, multi-purpose turf. The one that is easternmost is laid out as a soccer field. Then the one that is on the other side of the roadway is a split soccer/baseball field. There will be bleachers and a supporting building, some restrooms, surface parking. We have approximately 650 is what we're planning for parking, somewhere between 3 and 350 are under the building, as I mentioned. The other 300 or so are surface and spread out throughout the campus for access. The dashed teal line that travels kind of east-west on the site is an open Eastern County ditch that collects stormwater from the city and takes it out to Rumney Marsh. We are not planning to develop that. To the north of it, we will replicate some wetlands that currently exist on the inside of the old dog track, and that will be an opportunity for outdoor learning, science projects, and ability for students to really use the campus as a learning opportunity. There will be kind of a connection to Dunn Road, but that's really by gated access only. And then there's 5 tennis on the far west side of the campus. So with that, I can get into the building plans, but you can see on the right-hand side, there's a few precedent images of some of the natural resources here in Revere that we are hoping to provide and give a natural look and feel to the overall campus with this project. So if you would move forward, please, Dr. Kelly, to the building plans. I will walk through this briefly. We did this last month, so I don't want to dwell on it. I think that was recorded, but just a reminder, the 2 black arrows are the 2 major entrances into the building. The one on the right-hand side of the screen is the main entrance where I mentioned cars will drop. That's also where visitors will approach the building after hours, after drop-off and pickup hours. So if you're arriving midday, then you would approach the main entry and through a secure vestibule. The bus drop is the arrow on the south side of the building, and that takes you into that central space, which really is the heart of the school. That's also serves as the main student cafeteria and connects out to the outdoor courtyard, which is elevated over the underbuilding parking, but is intended to be a wonderful outdoor space where students can learn, students can socialize, and just spend time outside on a beautiful day like today. The academic wing is 4 stories tall. It's on the south side. It's sort of repeated as we go up through the plans, but just want to mention that the blues are the general classrooms, EL classrooms. The green or tealish green are science or tech spaces. The purple are special ed spaces intentionally spaced throughout the building per DESE standards, and the red is where adults sort of are. So it's teacher planning and office suites. Speaking of adults and office suites, just north of the main entrance is the secure main office. That will also have the SRO and some other spaces off the heart of the school and wanting to be adjacent to the main entrance. We've got a hospitality and restaurant that feeds off of that heart of the school space and is intended for student education as well as community use. And then we have the locker rooms in brown to the north of the drawing that support the main gymnasium, which is the far left rectangle. So an 18,000 square foot, 3 cross court, 1 main court gymnasium with some supporting weight, fitness, and junior ROTC spaces. Next floor up, we've got, again, the academic wing. That's sort of a standard in each of these 4 floor plans. We've got off the heart of the school some of the art spaces on this floor. that can open up to the heart of the school and provide some connection and excitement as you look in and see what the students are learning and doing in art class. We've got a freshman cafeteria that is specifically meant to serve the freshman academy, which is the academic wing, the left side of the academic wing, the first and second floors currently. What that is an entryway into the high school. It's really a place for students to not feel overwhelmed by the overall size of the building, but to get to know their peers as they come together in their first year of school. The theater and auditorium is accessed off this second floor, and there's an adjacent performing arts wing that has band, orchestra, theater spaces for students to learn. And then around the gym, we have a walking track, which is intended to support the physical education program, but also just serve for students and staff who want to get their steps in. And off of that walking track, there's some junior ROTC classrooms, some health classrooms, and some tech spaces, digital art and video production. If we go up one more floor to the third floor, we have, again, off the heart of the school, a lot of the media center spaces. So we have a main media center that has the stacks and places for students to sit and research and classes to come, but we also have career center, internship, STEM writing centers that support student writing and tutoring programs that exist currently at the school. Those are spread out around the heart of the school and are intended to be sort of an extension of the Learning Commons or the media center, as we call it. If we go up one more floor, there is a 2-story to that main media center on the south side. That's really a beautiful daylit space facing south and facing the Rotary and perhaps through the buildings to Revere Beach, a couple blocks away. And this is the highest floor. It's the only part of the building that's 4 stories tall. If you want to go to the next, this is the underbuilding parking layout, but it's just worth noting, like I said, there's approximately 350 spots on this level. A reminder about the exterior materials, and hello, come on in. The exterior materials that we plan on using, very durable materials intended for use in this salty, arid environment. We took inspiration from Revere Beach and the natural resources again here. We've got stone, we've got brick that looks and feels a little bit like beach sand. We've got some driftwood, some wood accents, and then the glazing intended to look and feel blue tones of the sea glass you might find along the beach. And if you go to the next slide, that actually are real samples of the actual materials that we plan on using, and you can start to imagine it with some of the renderings that we've done. So if we move forward into the exterior studies, first we've got massing studies. Again, you can sort of tell where you are by the academic wing, that 4-story tallest piece of the building. That is where most of the learning will occur in this building. The main entrance is that biggest rendering. There's an arrow. Perfect. Thank you. That is the main entry. You can see the performing arts wing sort of splays off to the right-hand side of that. The auditorium's behind it. The heart of the school is directly behind the main entry. And then you can see the courtyard that is flanked between the academic wing and the gymnasium. And the views on the left are just other sides of the building. From there, we'll show some quick exterior precedents, look and feel of the exterior with the light brick and some of the glazing and varying window widths and solids and voids, a little bit of wood as you move through some of these renderings. And these have even changed since we put this presentation together. We're getting feedback and making adjustments, but if you want to click through these, Dr. Kelly, I can just speak to. This has been updated, but hasn't been shown to the building committee quite yet. So we're not ready to roll the new ones out, but this is the main entry. You can see this is the courtyard with the gym on the left and the academic wing on the right. You can see the heart of the school sort of in the center of the screen. And again, this outdoor courtyard is just rendered in grass right now. It's really intended to be so much more. So stay tuned for some updates there, some exciting outdoor learning spaces and relaxation spaces. The next rendering is of the bus entry. I'm sorry, this is the academic wing. This is one side of that gentle curve, the longest, tallest piece of the building. And lastly, this is from the far east side of the academic wing. You can start to see how long this building actually is from the roadway. So with that, that's the design update. I will turn it over to permitting and schedule overview. Is that you, Brian, or
Yes.
Claire? Okay, that's you.
Thank you, Dawn. So we did a really high-level flyover of the project schedule. Long story short, if you just want to know, the headline is the current plan is to open the school for the beginning of the academic year in 2028. But there was a request to talk a little bit more about where the project is at in the permitting process. So we more or less have two paths here that are sequential. We are in the design development stage right now and dealing with initial permitting. We have state permits and local permits to secure. The design development phase will last through January, February of next year. And we will be through the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Act permitting, the first step that's called the ENF. We are well into the ENF submission and response time now. And I want to point out that what's down at the bottom of the screen, and this presentation will be on the website. If anybody would like to submit comments to the MEPA process, this is a standard part of the MEPA process. You can visit that website, search for Revere High School. Their project number is 16879, or you can directly email the MEPA reviewer, Nicholas Moreno, at mass.gov. Again, those are going to be on the website if you folks want to use them. But we are in the first of three steps in the MEPA process. We anticipate that first ENF certificate will be issued in November, probably just before the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday. We will then be engaging the Revere Conservation Commission with a notice of intent that will lead towards demolishing what's left over at that Wonderland site, demolishing a lot of the pavement, demolishing the foundation of the old buildings, abandoned utilities, etc. So you won't really see much activity on site until next spring in May. And for the duration of next summer, we'll be mostly cleaning up that site. While we're doing that, we'll proceed into the next design phases that are shown in green, the 60% construction document phase and the 90% construction document phase. As we are going through those phases, we'll take the next two final steps for MEPA, which is the draft environmental impact report and then the final environmental impact report. Those will also be posted to the website at the bottom of the screen and have the same MEPA reviewer. There will be chances to comment during those filings as well. Once we're fully through the MEPA process by next August, we'll secure the remaining building permits based on the bid documents that we'll establish at 60%, 90%, and final CDs. And by August, September, we will move from just cleaning up the site to actually building the new building. We then sort of, just to fit it on the screen here, we squished 2006, 2007 up, but again, building opening August of 2028 for the beginning of the school year. So that's more or less a permitting overview. I want to stress that people can go to the website, the project website, or the websites at the bottom to have their voice heard as part of the MEPA process. And what we wanted to finish on tonight was having Christy Lyons from Consigli, who is the builder for this project, the construction manager, run through the phases, how we're going to break this up and sort of the look and feel of the construction site over the next 3.5 years. So I'll turn it over to Christy now, who will start with a description of the next summer site cleanup and demolition phase.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. If we could jump to slide number 25, please. Excellent. So what I wanted to demonstrate here is really what you can expect when we mobilize to the site in May of next year. You can see we have a very vast site, and it's outlined in red. That represents our initial mobilization and our site fence, or our site perimeter. We are limited to a 200-foot setback around that eastern county ditch. So part of our initial mobilization will be installing erosion control and temporary fence measures along that border. Additionally, we will do the initial site clearing, as Brian mentioned, which includes some utility bypass and relocation, demolition of existing site features and structures, as well as removal of some of the existing paved areas in preparation for soil removal and foundation excavation. Additionally, we'll establish some of the stormwater retention areas along the VFW Parkway. And I do want to note that our construction access will be directly off of the rotary. You can see that we've set our site gate back about 150, 200 feet to really try and get trucks off of the rotary, off of the road, and onto our site to avoid any site congestion or traffic congestion on the parkway. From there, after this early phase, we'll then move into the next phase of construction, which includes foundation excavation and then building essentially of the entire building structure. We'll also be working throughout the site on the tennis courts, the multi-purpose field, the sports field, and again, with the size of this site, our goal is to get trucks off the street as much as possible and stagger them on the site to alleviate any unnecessary traffic congestion. Our next phase includes foundation, after the foundations, a steel erection. This is when you'll see the structure start coming out of the ground. One of the most dynamic parts of the construction, seeing the steel structure being erected. And then lastly, the last phase, bringing us to the completion, is all of the building facade and all of the interior finishes. At this point, we'll be doing the final turf on all of the play fields, as well as finalizing the tennis courts. And again, building will be completed in the spring, summer of 2028 in preparation for the start of the new school year.
Thank you, Christy. So that was most of what we wanted to go through tonight. I encourage people to visit the project website. There's links there and where you can submit any questions. I also want to just again remind you can go to the MIPA site to submit comments there as well. I encourage folks to look at the website and follow the school building committee meetings. All of those are posted. There are links to those meetings on the website. And I think in the meantime, we'll stop and see if any folks here in attendance have any questions. And I'm going to check the other rooms real quick just to see if anyone's out there as well.
Just before you go, Brian, I do have one question, and I don't know if it's for you or Dawn or any of the group, but and we had a great initial meeting with the landscape architect this morning. And so the building is going to open in 2028, August of 2028, when we anticipate construction will have just finished. Just for the people at home, in order to set expectations, would we anticipate that the bulk of the landscape architecture work wouldn't happen until after that?
Everything will be installed by that point. So
including the landscape.
Including the
Wow,
landscape.
awesome.
So the beauty of not just going back to the era where we were building on this site, the beauty of not having to have a demolition phase at the end of the project is we can finish everything at once. So we're going to turn this building over in fall of 2028, complete, including the landscaping. Obviously, it'll take a handful of years to grow in and look mature. But the project will be entirely complete construction-wise in the fall of 2028. Any questions in this room here before I just check the other ones quick? Sure.
I do have a question. My question is just, I know I came late, but my question is regarding the traffic in that rotary. What is the plan with making sure that there is not a problem with traffic of especially students that are walking across, not, driving? Because some of the parents, they will drop them, but most of the high school students, like even right now, they cross that, highway to come here. So what is the plan for having the kids safely going to the school without having to go through all of the traffic?
Okay.
So for two, let me just get us back to the very beginning here. And so one thing that I want to mention is that the city is working with the MBTA on traffic mitigation and on creating safe routes like overpasses and things of that nature. So that's something that's going to be a work in progress. It's not part of this project. It's something that the city's thinking about separately to make sure that's taken care of. And one of the groups that they're working with on that is the state legislature and the federal legislature, who have recently, you probably heard this, put significant money to do a study to put a commuter rail line. And right on the map, I don't know if you can see where my arrow is, there's already an MBTA rail track there. And so the idea is to put a commuter rail station back here, probably somewhere over in this area, and then create walk path bridges that would take you all the way over to Wonderland, which would help with getting kids who are walking to school safely. In terms of the traffic mitigation, this is the main entrance to the high school facility. Buses would come all the way in here. Sorry, cars, parent drop-off would come all the way in here and loop around and drop the kids at this entrance. And to prevent cars from backing up, buses would actually come on and take this route, separate it out, and those students have their own entrance over here for a bus drop-off. And that way, as you know, what happens right now is the buses come in with the cars, a bus stops in the same place where the cars stop, 55 kids get off the bus, and the cars line up behind. And this entryway for cars, I don't know if you can remind me how large this is compared to our current driveway. I feel like we talked about it being maybe 10 times bigger. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Yep.
Significantly longer. So if you think about how we might have 10 or 15 cars line up right now, we would have room for 150 and not have buses. So we think that will alleviate a lot of it. And then I'll just mention, because we're talking about vehicles and parking, staff will come in the way the students do, but they'll veer off here and go up underneath the building to park. So even staff won't be queuing up in that line to get to work the way they have to right now, because there's only one entrance to the high school. Does that answer?
Yeah, in a way it answers, but it's just the traffic with not only for the students and the staff, but I know that like North Shore Road, that traffic from Lynn going from the beach, all those traffic comes through that roundabout and try to go to Boston. So I think that is.
Yeah, and that will still exist.
Yeah.
And that's why our intention is to control what we can. And so the goal with this design is to get the vehicles that are coming to this school off of that road and off of that rotary as quickly and efficiently as we can, so that they're not contributing to that traffic, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
All good?
Yeah, no other questions.
I want to thank our consultants who've been so incredible working with us on all of these different design ideas. And I just want to mention briefly that we did have 21 separate focus groups, including students and staff at the high school over the last 2 weeks. And they have given us very valuable feedback on what the design should look like in classrooms and in other areas of the building where they are the intended users. We wanted their input, since they're the ones who will be using this building. And I know the design team is in the process of incorporating all of that feedback. And we anticipate by the time we get to the end of design development, which is December, right?
January.
December, January, You'll see some significant changes to what we talked about tonight, but the goal of these meetings is to make sure that the public is aware and has access to the information on what's going on with the building as we go forward. So, thank you for being here tonight, and we hope you'll join us again for future meetings.